Okay guys, today's chore we are going to finish up the trunnion straps for the cannon build. And when I say trunnion strap, it is exactly what you're looking at right here. This is the little hinge plate that holds the barrel in place so it can be elevated or dropped for aiming. And it also is the let's get this barrel off the chassis device. So the back side of these, this part right here, is actually a hinge. So the strap that's in the back will go around here, and then this whole entire unit will just simply pivot up out of the way so that guys in the field can change the barrel, invert the barrel, whatever, remove it, replace it. Okay, enough said on that one. The strap itself is longer on one side than it is on the other, and we are going to turn this back section right here into a full cylindrical feature. As you can see right now, if you didn't watch the video on how this was made, this was done on a rotary table. So if you haven't seen that, refer to that video. It's just a couple back in the catalog, so go look at it. What I need to do is remove the center, this area in here, turn it into a square window, but against the hinge pin area here, this needs to be completely cylindrical. So we're going to get creative on how we turn that teardrop shape into a full cylinder to allow this thing to pivot once it's installed. I think you get the idea. First thing we need to do is bring these to a correct thickness, and then we'll pop a hole in there and we'll broach that, and then we'll do some handwork and make that round. So let's take it over to the mill, give you an idea on how to hold it without smashing it, because this would be easily crushed, and we'll get this process going. Alright, I just cut myself a little helper block, and that will allow me to set this up in the mill and push directly on the flat spots of this. This will be my stationary jaw. This is movable, of course, and you can see how it will pinch the flat areas directly against the backside jaw. Allow me to come across with my cutter, finish off the thickness. Now here's a little side note for you. If you have a set of parallels like this, let's pull back so you can check this out. There is nothing special about this set of parallels. It goes from 1/2 inch to 1 5/8. 1/2 inch, 1 5/8. Now the majority of the chuck jaws or the vice jaws on these big Kurt vices, about 1 3/4 inches. So if you know how thick your part is going to be when you're done, this is 1/8 inch under the top jaw. This will allow you to mill a part to 1/8 thick without hitting the jaw. So 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, 1/2, and so on all the way down the line. So we're going to shoot for probably around somewhere in the 3/8 on these. So 1/8, 1/4, 3/8 right there. That's the set I'm going to grab. It's a real quick and dirty reference for whatever, however thick your part is, give you the maximum grip, or not, depending on if you're having squaring problems, but keep that in mind. Good trick. Let's cut some brass. That little aluminum block is now going to be my fingers. No pressure on the top feature. And I did select the parallel that's going to give me a minimum worth of 3/8 shelf here. Now, however thick these end up, that will drive the side panels of the chassis, how thick they're going to be. So let's just cut both of them here down to the same size, and then center them up and cut a square hole in the end and round off that axis. All right, let's change the parallels, set a few stops, pop a square hole in that. Okay, the pockets we're going to put in here are approximately 200 square. And I know that my broach is around 175. So I can pop a 3/16 hole both locations. Let's do that first. Make the broach a lot easier to go through. For those of you with the really good eyes, there's the undercut that I put in the very first part that I did, and I'm going to use it. You know, it just gives it character. Okay, 185 diameter hole. We're going to pop one here, and we're going to put one over here, and we're going to make them both square. Locations are 205 in initially. Hopefully that looks right when it comes down. Yep, I like it. Let's do it. Here's a little time-saving tip for you. If you're doing more than one, why bother returning the cutter to the initial location for the next part? Leave it right where it is. It's already on location. Just work the second piece in reverse. There we go. Anybody that's not aware that they exist, I've changed over to 1/32 parallels. They are very thin. And you always got to be aware of what's directly under the part. Chances are I would have hit these 1/8 parallels with the drill or the broach. And another little time saver tip for you right here. I got riser blocks under my stack here. And I have an 1/8 inch set, 32nd set, and another duplicate 1/8 inch set. That comes in real handy. And being in between the boxes like that, they are not taking up bench space. Works out very well. Good idea. Okay, there is no doubt that this is going to be too small a hole for the broach to begin. And I'm not sure in what sequence this is going to be edited. But the initial impact, you can see remnants of that, did bend the end here. So be aware how soft the material is. I really didn't want to bend it, but it did bend. And luckily the little jig that I used initially to cut the thickness down, that little piece of aluminum that I made in the beginning of the video, worked fantastic to re-straighten this thing. So that worked out real well. I'm going to go in there with a 1/16 end mill, take out as much material as I can on both of these pockets. Then I will broach it square. Move down to the other end. Make that one square as well. Now when you're down inside of a small pocket like that, you certainly do not want to make any mistake on which way you turn that dial, because you can kiss this part goodbye in a heartbeat. And that's where that mill skill challenge thing comes in when we do it out in the bash in California. And you also have a video on that. If you haven't seen that video, take a look at that one. And actually those are also available on the store. So that's selfless promotion right there. Let's move it down. Check it out. Now a good way to do this, if you do have a digital readout, when it comes time to jump around in between features or move your end mill a specified amount from the center of that feature, click over to incremental and re-zero your digital. That'll give you the freedom of not losing your initial location and still be able to trust a 0 XY movement in an incremental mode. Makes it a lot easier. You don't have to reset anything. There we go. Next step in the process is to square up the broach. If you have really good eyes, do it by eye. If you don't, put an indicator on it and sweep it back and forth until you get a 0. Make sure you can access the drawbar nut, or you may have difficulty lining this up. That is not out by a whole lot. Beauty. Zeroed out. Let's move it into position. Put it to work. With the broach indicated true to the X and Y axis of the machine, based on the size of the broach and based on the size of the pocket, figure out what your X and Y moves are. I am now in the incremental mode, moved over to the center of that pocket. This should be a lot easier to get through with the corners nibbled out. There you go. Life is good. Set your stop. Start walking. Small bites on soft material, you're going to bend it. This is also a homemade broach. Did it in the video, can you grind on a milling machine? And yes, you can. This is the broach I made in that video, so it's coming in real handy right now. These are about 2 thou incremental steps I'm taking. And when you do an operation like this, you can feel the impact of the broach against the material. And if you pick away at it, you'll feel the resistance go away and you'll hear the noise subside. That's when you know you got a good non-flex cut.
And back to the front corner to finish. Let's take a look. There will be some handwork to clean up the radiuses, the radii, but I think that's a win. Let's move down to the other end, finish it off. Alright, that is piece number one. This will be the hinge. This will be the lock. It will pivot this way. Let's put it on the bench and see if we can file out the bottom sharp corner there and make that cylindrical. I do have a plan for that. Let's check it out.
Alright, the next challenge is to make this end round. Now I could wing it, but I've come up with something that I think I just got to try it. And I've never tried this before, to be perfectly honest with you, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to video, but here's my jig, and let's look at the concept. This particular shim is cut down to the thickness of the round feature on the end. Now I have enough banking material here, finished banking surfaces, that as I pass this through here, registering on already milled features, moving this back and forth, that gap should allow me to take, and as I roll this both directions, that should allow me to make that round. Makes perfect sense. Then again, many things make perfect sense before you try them. So I am going to struggle through this, and I will show you what this looks like. When I'm done. Right now it's got a square corner on the bottom, so I have 90 degrees worth of radius to file into it here, and there's a little bit of a land right there. So if this concept works, I will be thrilled, and I'll have a round par when I'm done. So let's see if I can do it. Sorry guys, that's going to be nearly impossible to set up and film that when I have to look through the camera. Forgive me, I will be right back with this. This is probably going to take a couple minutes, but let's see what it looks like when it's done. This is the final configuration required to do these. Minimal projection, nice wide land, and keep the already established radius against the hard side, and as you move it back and forth, and lift, you can feel the resistance going away. You can see that you truly do end up with a cylindrical feature on the end. I would say that's a win. I like it. I'm gonna tear up a piece of emery, stick it through there and do the shoe shine on that, see if I can shine that up. Call it a day. I like it. One more look at the setup. That worked like a charm. Love it. Alright, now I just put the calipers on this, and this is round within a thou. That is 1/1000th of an inch round. I am very pleased with that. That came out like a charm. I love it. Okay, that is the hinge point. And that still bugs the living daylights out of me. I might have to work that out of there somehow. Anyway, there you go. Focus on this side for now. That file gap technique worked like a charm. Love it. See you. Thanks for watching.